on the impact of global primary commodity market disruption on growth and poverty in Western Africa. So this is one, so it's part of a series of work related to the impact of COVID-19. And as we all know, the global economy today is a connected network of many players so that when something happens in that network somewhere, the impact goes around and affects almost everyone. In this case, Dr. Fofana and his team are looking onto the impact of COVID-19 on prices and how that affects African economies, especially growth and poverty today in Western Africa. So I would give Ismail the floor, and I'll come back for the Q&A session after his presentation. Ismail, you have the floor.
Thank you, John. Just want to confirm with you that you can hear me and you can see my screen.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. Good morning and good afternoon or good evening, wherever you're joining us. I am Ismail Fofana. I work for Academia 2063. I'm the Director for Capacity and Deployment. And I'm happy to present today the findings of studies, that we have been, cross-country studies that we have been doing over the last 6 months on, contributing to provide evidence on how COVID-19 pandemic is affecting African economies. Our COVID-19 work stream, work streams, actually we have 4 work streams at Academia 2063. The first one is mapping vulnerability, hotspots, and we have another one on staple food price tracking, and we have a third one on food production system disruption, and the one that I'm going to present, some of our findings for West Africa only, is on macro effect on trade disruption. This analysis is done across Africa. We did a presentation for Southern Africa countries some time ago, and today is going to be only on West Africa. And please, you have the website of Academia 2063 up there if you need more information on those work streams and the publications, the brief and the bulletin that we have been issuing on a weekly basis on those different topics. My presentation is going to be structured in those 5 points here. Start with introduction, and then I will discuss quickly the methodology, and then present the scenarios that we have built and implemented, and then the findings, and then I will have some remark and recommendation for conclusion. Why are we analyzing the effect of the global primary commodity market disruption? This is important for Africa because of, COVID-19 is affecting African economies, economy in general, the world economy in general, in Africa economies, through many channels. We have domestic disruptions, supply and demand disruptions, but we also have international, and global, economy disruption. And then that global economy disruption would be channeled to different economies through, how they trade with the rest of the world. So that's is the focus of our analysis here. But beyond that, you have remittances, international remittances are also affected. You have the foreign direct investment are affected, etc. So basically, this analysis is focusing only on the commodity, and specifically primary commodity markets and trade. The other reason why it is important for Africa, and for West Africa in particular, is because of those primary commodities contribution in export are very important. They heavily weight in the export basket of those countries. Looking at the first reason why this is important, you can see here that the price information that we collected some time ago during the first quarter of 2020, prediction done by the World Bank compared to 2019, most commodity prices, the commodities that are tracked by the World Bank database, most of those commodities was declining during the first quarter of 2020. And, you can see here on my left-hand side, the energy prices are declining, driven by the oil, the oil prices. And then you can see also that fertilizers prices also declining. Also, minerals, base minerals prices are also declining. In the contrary, you can see here that precious metals prices are increasing. And then finally, the situation is more, mixed for agriculture and food prices. Some of the commodities prices are increasing. Some of the commodity prices are declining. So during the first quarter of 2020, you can see that cocoa, coffee, tea, prices were declining, while you have other commodities like palm oil, rice, prices that are increasing. For the second reason, you can see from this graph on my left-hand side that primary commodities contribute heavily in the total exports of West African countries. Out of the 16 countries that we are analyzing here, 13 countries are more than 50%, more than 50% contribution of primary commodities in the total exports. And then when you look at on my right-hand side, the right-hand side of the slide, imports, primary commodities contribution in import of West African countries is less important. You only have three countries where the primary commodities are contributing more than 50%. And then those give us enough, how do you call it? I mean, for the objective of the analysis, the why we should focus on, analyzing the commodity prices impact in West Africa. So here, what we're doing is we focus only on one channel that is affecting one channel that COVID-19 is affecting African economies, which is the international commodity prices and global market disruption. This is important because this information can only be retrieved from this kind of analysis and modeling. because the statistic that's going to be available later on in 2021 on 2020 will include all the channels, contributions, their impact on those on these economies, and then in order to be able to disentangle or to retrieve the information on how one specific channel is contributing to what will be the impact of COVID-19, you need to go through this kind of the analysis that we have done here. And this analysis is based on 16 Western African countries, and the effort has been made by the team, and I would like to thank the team here for covering all the 15 plus Mauritania, so 15 ECOWAS countries plus Mauritania, which is 16 West African countries. In terms of methodology, basically we took advantage of the research academia data and models repository, where we have a large number of almost 40 countries, African countries, that has been for which we have a single country CG models, and also microsimulation models and surveys data and social accounting matrices. So we use those information to, we use this information, materials that is available, toolkits that is available there in order to conduct this analysis. We also use the primary commodity price prediction from the World Bank. So the World Bank regularly collect information on primary commodities on the monthly basis since the 80s, 1980s till 2020, and then they do some predictions, 5 years predictions, twice a year, one in October, one in April, and one in October. So we use those information also to do the analysis. And finally, we use also the statistics coming from the United Nations, statistics on international trade, import and export data, to do this analysis, to make sure that the trade information that is used by the model is up to date. But also beyond those three, we also updated the social accounting matrices using the World Development Indicators, the latest information, so that we are up to date in terms of the structure, the microstructure of the economies that we are analyzing, and then before running our simulations. So basically, those are the information that we use in the analysis. In terms of scenario, basically we implemented price shocks, changing the international price of primary commodities, combined with the disruption of global trade conditions and international markets. Basically, the price shocks are, the price information are available, and the disruption of global trade is an evidence, or the OECD report, early this year was mentioning that 40% of the international trade was disrupted because of the COVID-19. And this is reflected through, the shutdown of many airports, or even the airport traffic has been really, low compared to, a situation where you don't have a COVID-19. When you look at the port, in terms of the restrictions has, provided more, has lengthened, the process the processes in terms of paperwork, but also manpower. The lockdowns have reduced, the number of people who are available, or manpower at the port level to load and unload different containers. So that has contributed to reduce or to slow down or to reduce the flow of trade, import and export between countries. And the way we have implemented this disruption is using the sensitivity test on trade elasticities, where we implemented different several scenarios here, from no disruption. So if you don't have major disruption in your global trade, so basically you are affected only by the price shocks, up to you have price disruption. You have price shocks and also major disruptions, several disruptions in your trade, global trade conditions and international markets. In terms of price shock, we use the information on the 2019 price estimates, and we also use the 2020 price focus. The price estimate in 2019 are available, but the prices for 2020 are not available yet. That's why we use the focus. And here in our base scenario, the focus for 2020, or the prediction for 2020, was based on the October 19th outlook released just before the pandemic. And then in our COVID scenario, we used the April 2020. That's the first quarter where the pandemic started to affect the economies, the global economy in general, and African economies. For a specific country, the price scenario is based on the basket of import and export commodities, primary commodities. This is the case of Cote d'Ivoire, where you have the basket of commodities is dominated by primary commodities, and you have on the cocoa, which come as an important commodities exported by the country, 39%. So here, cocoa products, combining all type of products from beans to chocolates. They have also petroleum and golds. And then on my right-hand side, you can see how the prices of those different commodities are declining. Most of those commodities prices are declining, and except a couple of them, like gold's prices, are increasing. When you check the import basket also, you have the same type of the price scenarios. It's also built based on the structure of the economy, the trade, the import here. So you have the top primary commodities that are imported by Cote d'Ivoire, and then the other on my right-hand side, how the prices are impacted, how the prices are changing due to COVID-19. When you now, this is done for all countries, individual countries, 16 countries. And now when here we computed the average export prices for primary commodities. And then you can see that the COVID-19 pandemic has a mixed effect on the prices in West Africa, export prices of primary commodities in West Africa. So you have countries that are experiencing a decline in their export prices, with the Nigeria leading those countries because of the oil prices declining. But also you have Ghana, Senegal, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and Sierra Leone. On the other side, you have countries that are, in terms of, as far as the price are concerned, that are benefiting from the pandemic, where prices are increasing. Guinea-Bissau, Mali, all the way to Guinea, Gambia, Mauritania, prices are increasing. And then you have countries where you have a small decline, Togo, Benin, and Liberia, export pricing. And then this graph, with the axis here, you have the countries, and the different colors reflecting a little bit what we have here in terms of price impact, from red to yellow to green. On the y-axis, you have the share of specific commodities you have in the graph in the total export of the country. So here you can see a country like Nigeria, where petroleum contribute to by 90% of total export of primary commodities, and you don't have any other commodities that can be close to petroleum. Others are very small. Their contribution are very small, are not reflected here. You have country like Guinea, where most gold and aluminum, bauxite are the most important commodities that are contributing to the exports. And then you can see cocoa and other cashew as very, very small here. Country like Cote d'Ivoire, you have cocoa, which is leading with almost close to 40% in petroleum, etc. So basically, the reason why you have red and green and yellow is explained here by those also color. If when you have red, meaning that the prices are declining, when you have green, the prices are increasing. So basically, if you can see that's the price impact for each country will depend on the structure of the export basket. The import also side is also the import side of the price impact. The import price impact also follow the same analysis that we did for the export one. But here we can see that import prices are declining more than export prices, because of the oil prices that have, recorded a significant, very important decline. For all countries who have a decline in primary commodity prices that are imported, and then you have most of them is a double-digit price decline. You have countries where you have a decline between 20% and 30%, which is the first group, and the second group where you have 10 to 20%, and the third group where you have a single-digit decline. But what is important in our analysis is you don't take into account only the price, the commodity, primary commodity trade. You also include other non-primary commodities. So when you compute the average prices for all import and export, that will depend on how primary commodities are weighted in the in the total in the external trade of the country, import or export. And here we have ranked countries from in terms of price, export price impact. So from Nigeria, which export prices are declining heavily, to all the way to Guinea-Bissau, which export prices are increasing. So countries are ranked on the impact on export prices, and then you can see how that's the black bar, and then you have the blue bar where you have import price, how import prices are affected also. So, and then here we can identify three groups of countries where export prices are declining more than import prices. So you have export price decline in a relative term. Countries where you have export prices increasing while import prices are declining. So you have an increase in export price in relative term. And then in the middle, you have countries where both import and export prices are declining, but export prices are declining less than import prices. So here also you have relative increase in export prices. In terms of findings, the analysis we started by the real exchange rate analysis, and then we saw that the real exchange rate is depreciating for all countries, especially when you combine at the bottom here, the red one, the price and the trade shock. The price shocks only, you can observe that for those countries that are grouped with different categories, group of countries, group A, group B, group C, you can see that group A, as expected, you have a decline in the, depreciation in the real exchange rate, while in group C, where you have a favorable increase in export prices, you have appreciation of the exchange rate only when you consider the price shock. When you combine the price shocks with the trade shock, you have a depreciation for all countries, which is the bottom here, part of the graph. Now, how the economy growth is affected, we can see here as expected that group A, where you have the relative decline in export prices, for most of those countries, prices, the economy is negatively affected by the commodity price and trade shocks, price shocks here. Sorry, trade shocks will come later on, price shock. Except Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire, we're having an increase in the growth effect. As expected, Group C, the price shocks is favorable, and then we have a positive impact. And Group D also in between, but the impact is positive. Now focusing on Cote d'Ivoire, why Cote d'Ivoire growth is increasing, why the country experiencing a negative price shock, meaning that export prices are declining more than import prices. The explanation here is Cote d'Ivoire compared to other countries like Ghana and Nigeria. We're taking Ghana and Nigeria because they are in the same group. Ghana's price is declining, growth is declining, Nigeria growth is declining because of the negative price impact. But Cote d'Ivoire also the same group, negative price decline, but growth is increasing. You can see here that primary commodities contribution in the intermediate consumption and final consumption in Cote d'Ivoire is much higher than compared to other countries. Beyond the contribution of primary commodities in import and in import. What is also important is what is the import penetration rate by different consumption categories, meaning that import to consumption. So we can see for Cote d'Ivoire here, the primary commodities weigh heavily in the intermediate consumption of Cote d'Ivoire, then benefiting from the price decline. While other non-primary commodities that we have not analyzed here will be affected normally negatively, meaning that prices will be increasing because of the exchange rate depreciation. So basically, in Cote d'Ivoire, intermediate consumption and firms are benefiting from the price decline, and then they are increasing their profit, and then the value added also is increasing there. That's why you have a positive impact compared to Ghana and to Nigeria here. Ghana almost have the same level of contribution of primary commodities intermediate consumption, but you have also non-intermediate consumption, which prices are increasing, which is canceling out the effect that you're getting from Cote d'Ivoire. From Cote d'Ivoire, you still have non-primary commodities here, but their contribution in intermediate consumption is very small. And then you have the opposite situation in Nigeria. When you look at now, you combine the price effect and the trade effect, then almost the majority of countries here, growth is declining. You only have 3 countries where growth is still, you still have a positive growth: Gambia, Mali, and Burkina Faso. In terms of poverty, we combine, if the graph on the top is based on the price shocks only, and the graph on the bottom is based on the price and trade shock. So when you look at only the price shocks is contribute to reduce poverty in most countries, as we are expecting. Poverty is declining, but when you combine restrictions, you combine the price shocks with disruption of international trade, then you have a negative effect on poverty. So poverty is increasing here for most of West African, the majority of West African countries. Now, we also look at how rural and urban poverty are evolving under those different scenarios. So when you look at the price only, so the direction is on the left-hand side, decline. But when you look at the increase on the bottom graph where poverty is increasing, so you can see that both rural and urban poverty are increasing. But what is interesting here in this graph is rural poverty in blue bar is increasing, is more likely to increase in most of those countries compared to urban poverty in green bar. So 7 countries out of 11 here where poverty is increasing, so the blue bar is increasing more than the green bar. So meaning that rural poverty is increasing more than urban poverty. In conclusion, key findings from this analysis, negative impact of COVID-19, in particular through the primary commodity trade, price and trade effect in West African countries. Only 3 countries, we observe only in 3 countries where prices, the growth rate is is not negatively affected, Burkina, Mali, and Gambia. And then we also find out that poverty is negatively impacted also in Western African countries, mostly Burkina, except Burkina, Mali, Gambia, and Sierra Leone. And as I said previously, rural poverty is increasing more than urban poverty. In 7 out of the 11 countries, urban poverty is increasing more than, rural poverty is increasing more than urban poverty. In terms of policies, policy options in the short term, protect rural and urban populations when it is possible to scale social protection schemes in order to reach out more rural and urban population, but also investing in rural economy, it will be important to support, to protect people, but also to support the entire economy by investing in agriculture and also fast tracking the implementation of policies that are conducive to private investment in agriculture. In long-term, medium and long-term policy options can be diversifying the export basket, including more agriculture and food commodities, but also countries where you can see that agriculture and food, commodities are leading, you need to diversify, leading the export, I mean, you need to diversify it, have more agriculture commodities as part of that basket. This is important because when we collect recent prices, outlook of the World Bank in October 2020 and compare it to the October 2019, we find out that the trend for energy, fertilizer, minerals, and precious metal are the same, almost the same. What have changed is the trend of agricultural commodities. Agricultural commodities have recovered faster from the pandemic than other commodities. So you can see that cocoa and coffee, especially Arabica coffee, which prices was predicted to decline, are now increasing. And then you have other more increase here than decrease, as we showed previously. So they are recovering faster, and then investing in agriculture is important to build resilience to future shocks. This is important. This is my last slide. I'm coming back again to this. You can look at, if you see a country like Nigeria where you have petroleum, if Nigeria had more agricultural commodities here, it will help him to build more resilience for future shocks. We have countries like Guinea. Guinea also can increase the contribution of the ag commodities that you have down there close to zero. But if those increase a little bit and come over here and this decrease, and then you build more resilience in your economy. Cote d'Ivoire also is in the path of diversifying the economy, but we still need to have more. Cocoa is still dominating the export basket. You still need to have more diversification. So diversification is key here, and diversification here that we're talking about is more on the horizontal and vertical line. So you need more commodities, but you need to have more sophisticated commodities. So basically value chain, having a higher value chain commodities part of the basket. Thank you very much for your attention. I would like also to thank my colleagues from Academia 2063 and also from AgroDev who has contributing to this analysis. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ismail, for this very good presentation. I will open the floor for questions. Just identify yourself if you have a question. The first question that we have on in the chat box is coming from Jonas Bata from University of Free State in South Africa. Which year applied or updated SAM for each country? I don't know, Ismail, if you can answer that one.
Yes. Thank you, John. Yes, depending on the availability of data, through the World Development Indicator database. So we have the social accounting matrices has been updated for 2019 for most of the countries, and 2018 for other countries where the 2019 data is not available. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? My question, Ismail, to you is, I know at the end of your presentation, you mentioned that ag products tend to be or have been more resilient compared to non-ag product like energy related items. Why is that so? Why those non-ag products have been less resilient compared to ag products?
Yes, thanks, John. At this stage, I can only speculate on that, to answer your question, because we have not dig deep in that on that issues, looking at what happened to different commodity prices at the international level, why ag prices recover faster than other prices. But this is something that we would like to do as a follow-up of this of the analysis. Okay. They have been in the World Bank report on how prices have changed between the two estimates, April and the two prediction, April and October. They talk about a faster recovery of China. But China is mostly importing minerals from Africa, yes, but also importing probably agricultural commodities. But this is something that we want to analyze, deepen our analysis on it, and also looking at the 2018 crisis and see if we have the same story there, the same pattern, and then try to learn from COVID and also from the Great Depression period. Thank you.
Thank you, Ismail. The next question is coming from Bade. His question is, e-commerce seems to boom during this COVID-19 pandemic era. Please, did any e-commerce subsector stand out in this study?
No, we did not. We did not deepen our analysis on e-commerce, but still, we need to think about. We're talking about primary commodities, also Africa, and here West Africa in particular. And now the question is whether at this stage, at this moment, e-commerce is really something relevant, that need to be added to this analysis. We can think about the future, looking at how e-commerce can also contribute to build resilience, and probably learning from other countries where you have, they have that strongly invested in e-commerce, and they have that kind of economy, a strong economy, and see how the e-economy has contributed to build the resilience of sectors, especially the agriculture and food sector. That's something, yes, that can be very interesting to do, but learning from other economies. Thank you.
Thank you, Ismail. And I know that countries with a strong digital economy, they've pretty much fared much better than other countries because pandemic. If anything, we learned from the COVID-19 is that services that don't require personal interaction have been very, very useful. I mean, you can see Amazon in the U.S., even in the food industry. These days, you can order your uncooked food online. It's delivered to you, with the recipe, and you can make your own food at home. So yes, digital platforms is expanding in countries like Kenya, I guess South Africa, even Rwanda, to some point, are benefiting from the boom of digital economy. The next question is, compared to other countries in the region, what explains that growth has not declined for Burkina Faso, which, in addition to COVID-19 impact, is facing security challenges? So what's so special about Burkina Faso?
Ismail, you're muted.
We can't hear you if you were saying something.
Yes, can you hear me? I guess you can hear me now.
Now we can hear you.
I was struggling with. All right. Yes. Burkina Faso here, as I said earlier in my presentation, the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting the economies, African economies, through many avenues. But here the focus is only one of them, only the commodity trade and markets disruption. We're not including any other channels. And the reason why it is positive for Burkina Faso through these channels, specific channels, Burkina Faso is exporting mostly. Gold is heavily weighting in their export basket, in Burkina export basket. You have others like cotton and cashews, nuts that are coming, but they are very small here. And the price of gold is evolving, during this kind of crisis. Most of the time, gold and other precious metals prices are increase. And that's the reason why Burkina Faso is having a positive impact through only these specific channels. We're not including other channels. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you. Before we close, one other question that I had is if you could summarize for us the profile of countries that absorbed or react better to the pandemic shock in West Africa. What will be the profile, the 2 or 3 characteristics that the country that they did better than others have, that we might learn from going forward?
Yeah, because of the nature of this, most of the global crises where, some of the commodities in general, prices evolve positively, like the case of Burkina. Burkina, for example, can be that kind of country. So basically, if you look at countries that are exporting golds or the precious metals, where, when you have this kind of pandemic and they have that, they have that, how do you call it? They have been blessed, to have those minerals. They are affecting positively. But what I think is important is agriculture products seems to recover faster than other non-agriculture product, because you can't, if you don't have gold, you don't have gold. So you can't say that I'm going to build my strategy on trying to find gold in my country in order. But agriculture sector, you can invest in, improve, increase your agriculture contribution to the economy, diversify your agriculture in terms of number of product that you want to have in your export basket, but also diversify the value chain, add more food and higher agriculture value product in your food basket. So I can see here that countries that have that kind of profile will build more resilience to future shocks. But Cote d'Ivoire is also a nice story here to tell, because you don't have only, it's not only the export prices that are affecting the economies, but import prices also are playing, for some countries. A country like Cote d'Ivoire is benefiting from it because of primary commodities are weighted heavily in the industries, intermediate consumption, and which is good, which is a good sign for economic transformation. You import primary commodities in order to include it in your intermediate consumption and produce more high value added products. And that also can pay off in this kind of situation. Thank you.
And overall, when you look at the trade balance for ag and food sector, what is the trend? African countries exporting more food / ag products, or importing more during this period?
Yeah, in general, what we have compared and what we have seen is primary versus non-primary. And basically we can draw also conclusion about food and versus non-food. The export to import ratio is more than 100%, meaning that for primary commodities, meaning that African countries and West African countries in particular are exporting more primary commodities than importing primary commodities. And it is the opposite for non-primary commodities. And basically, depending on countries, you can see that trend. So basically, you have countries where you have the trade balance is positive for agriculture and food, like Cote d'Ivoire, while the other countries, the trade balance is negative, like Guinea. But if you look at the primary commodities, the trade balance for Guinea is positive because of minerals. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Ismail. Any other question from participant? One, two. In terms of policy, if you can again remind us the 5 top policy options to build that resilient Africa food system, especially in West Africa? So now assume you are the advisor to the commissioner, ECOWAS commissioner for agriculture. And here you've done this very important study, and it comes down to, so what?
So what, invest in agriculture, at least there are commitment there, you committed to put at least 10% of your budget in agriculture. So that can be a first step. Make sure that you budget enough to provide enough investment, public investment in the agriculture sector. Second, public investment is good, but is not enough. You need to make sure that private investment also increase in the agriculture sector. This is where policies are important. Mm-hmm. You need to add to your investment the right policies that are conducive to increase private investment in agriculture. And you need to have institutions that can help you to implement those policies, and also to make sure that you get the maximum benefit from the private investment, from your public investment and private investment. I mean, institution is important too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ismail. We have one question from Beatrice. Yes, Beatrice, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Beatrice, can you unmute? Yes.
I think you can hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. John, and thank you, Fofana, for that wonderful presentation. As I was listening in, I kept hearing similar terminologies in terms of the methodology and some of the scenarios as to the study we are trying to undertake. We are being supported.
You are muted again, Beatrice. Can you unmute?
I'm okay now?
Yes, you are back up.
Okay.
Can you introduce yourself first so we know?
Yes, I'm called Beatrice Eguru and I work for the African Union Commission.
Okay.
In the Department of Rural Economy and Agriculture. Mm-hmm. We are being supported by the European Union mm-hmm. to undertake a study on global assessment of the COVID-19 effect mm-hmm. with a focus on trade, agriculture, and food production in Africa. Okay. And some of the models that Fofana was describing, we are using them. Mm-hmm. And ECOWAS is represented by a few countries within the study. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if we could share our results so we could discuss with the Fofana and the team to mm-hmm. see if you can compare your results with so far what we found out.
Absolutely. Dr. Fofana, who's listening, will be happy to share with you his contact so that you and his team can have that discussion.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. My colleague will share with you on the in the chat box my email address so that we can start the conversation there.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Unless there is another comment or question, we will close this one. But before we close, I'll ask my colleague Nabu to share a couple of information on how to access the materials from this, the work that academia is doing on COVID-19. Nabu, please.
For excellent presentation. Thank you all. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we're breaking up. Nabu, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I got, they have is that for everyone interested in following us through our different webinars and learning events, please make sure that you are registered to our newsletter. That's where we are going to update you about the following events and calendars of activity. We are also asking you to visit our website at www.academia2063.org, where all the events and upcoming webinars will be displayed. That's it on my side, John.
All right, thank you, Nabu. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Fofana. And hope to see you next time.
All right, thank you.